Yes, we are the recording. We are the live, one might call it. But yes. Um, Mine just instantly blanked. I had plans. I had visions, ideas. Completely distracted. And yet, today is the day of the update period. So, the upkeep period. Sorry. For the upkeep, I believe Legacy posted a big summary of it, essentially in our meeting notes channel. So that's Gouda there. I know for the stuff for Sunday meetings, are people not able to pop in? Or okay, that's why. That's why Indy is not in the call, but isn't popped in yet. Um, so for that, the only thing we really need to do is roll a worldly event for this update period to see if anything occurs. And what that might be. It will not be a weather event, just because those, or a celestial event, just because those are tied to time changes, not upkeep periods. So when we do switch downtime to be a X number of months thing, that way we'll be able to properly switch that one. But for now, we'll just be doing a worldly event roll rather than a both roll. Outside of that, though, let's see here. I remember now. Okay, yes. Okay. Moving forward, if there are to be um, updates, balance changes, things like that, as soon as we find something out, uh, let us know so we can post it in announcements so the community can be aware that it's on the block to be changed. So, if, like in a economy team, if I'm not able to make a meeting and you guys are like, oh, this particular downtime activity is no longer functioning the way we want it to, let me know so we can post it in a announcements channel. Or if you have access to an announcement channel yourself, post it there so people know that it's on pause or being looked at or what have you. Let's see here. Outside of that, making some very solid progress on the equipment guide again. Now that I'm back in the flow of things and no longer suffering writer's block, I am about halfway done with the weapon restructuring. So I've been editing how weapons are crafted and all that. Definitely want to get economy's view of things. I know I posted a little snippet of it, what it looks like, to the community via that forum post that I found. But I want to get economy's view of it too, because it's got some spicy stuff to it.
Yeah, you just throw it at us whenever.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have access to it because you guys should have access to the document I'm editing.
I mean, it's already there, right? We'll
Yeah.
take a look at it during the meeting.
Mm-hmm. But essentially, let me bring up the document just so I have it in front of me so I can better reference it. Main changes would be the re-addition of critical threat and multiplier to weapon crafting design.
Uh-oh.
I wouldn't worry about it as much as you're thinking it is, because weapon multiplier does not multiply the damage, so it's not going to multiply sneak attack, it's not going to multiply X, Y, and Z. It's only multiplying the damage dice of the weapon itself. And the main reason that that is viable to come back is because we do use critical threat range and critical confirmations. If we didn't use confirmations, I would not even think about adding that back.
So it only increases the base weapon damage.
Yes.
Obligatory, how does that work with brawling?
Obligatory, how does that work with material benefits?
For brawling, you would just use your the weapon itself would be the thing that would multiply. So in that case, your natural weapon would be multiplied. or if you're using the brawling damage dice instead of your natural weapon damage dice. You'd use whichever of the two better. But if you had, for example, a uh, brawling weapon that had the flaming enchantment, so an extra d6, that would multiply. It would get the traditional d6 multiplication on the base critical rules, because we're still using those. But the weapon can get higher crit range, which most of the values, like if you look at club design, you'll see that to increase the threat range of a club is +8 to the DC to bring it up 1 multiplier, or 16 to bring it up 2 multipliers. While for daggers, they're 6 and 14. So it's a bit easier to get daggers to be higher multiplier. A similar thing with threat range. So +6 to the DC for a 19 to 20 threat range for a dagger, while for club, it would be a 12, +12 to the DC to get 19 to 20.
And we're talking base damage. We're only talking about only the things that the weapon itself has, like no enchantments, no material benefits, no properties, nothing like
base.
this.
Just base. So let me share my
Just
screen
base.
too,
Yeah.
just so everyone else can see. I believe this should be sharing the document now. But
Yes.
for clubs, I've also separated weapon crafting, so it's clear. Hey, you're working on like archaic weapons, so these are things you can find in Tech Level 1, which is essentially Stone Age. And then you have classical, so like Grecian period, Renaissance, medieval style, industrial for, big bada boom, Wild West guns. Um, Regardless, though, I have also separated weapon properties to a similar setup, so you know which ones can be found in different time periods or tech levels. So if someone did want to run, say, a Savage Coast mission, and they wanted to run the peoples there, they could properly get
Dran.
the weapons that they would find.
You kind of disconnected there for a second.
No, sorry. What was the last thing you guys heard?
You said that you're going that someone can run, and then you ran away.
Okay, so someone is wanting to run a mission in the Savage Coast, as an example, which is very much monstrous beasts, things like that. Not very uh, industrialized, we'll call it. Not very tech savvy. Um, with this system, one would be able to be like, oh, they're using archaic weapons, so I can only choose properties or weapon styles from this setup. So one wouldn't be able to grab, a magical implement as an example and give it to the peoples there. Yeah, yeah. Also, touched briefly on the upkeep that you posted in meeting times. Essentially, just saying that a lot of it's in there already. We're gonna be rolling a world event for that soon. There was one note, but I wanted to wait for you to get here before I mentioned it. From the looks of it, it seems like our decision on making it. Oh god damn it, it's snowing. That's fun. Um, our decision on making it um, combine both previous phase and this phase's effects, just because we're wanting to be you pay for the one that you're getting, was not in effect in terms of what you wrote. As it seems, the previous phase ends after the 2 week period that they have to pay for things. Um, yeah, so the intent was essentially, since we're wanting to make it so you're paying for the period that you're benefiting from rather than the next period. Since the previous upkeep phase worked the original way, which was you're paying for the future period, not the current one, you're not actually benefiting from the previous period at all. So we need to combine them both for this period only. For future ones, we can do it as written, but this one needs to be a little weird because of the previous phase was weird. Yeah. So this, as written, it's fine for the next upkeep drop. This one, it needs to be slightly tweaked. Yeah. Yeah, so access to structures they paid. anything that they would gain benefit from via um, the lifestyle choice that they chose that is not like a standardized unit. So if they're choosing something that says you gain X comfort level while sleeping within these buildings, or while sleeping at all, period, for the period. Um, and then there's another one that they choose for this new phase that says the same thing. They take the better value. They wouldn't take both. Yeah, so better lifestyle value. And they would, if there's one that they had previously, so let's say they were wretched in the previous one, any benefits that are unique to wretched, not drawbacks, only benefits, would apply to this phase. So they would gain the benefit to hide in large crowds from wretched. And that's just for this phase. Yeah, that's the only reason. But that's the only thing. Everything else looks freaking solid. No issues. Um, I don't know if I have armor rules yet in the book. Let me go check, because they might be. Okay, from looks that they are in the book. I don't know if they're up to date yet, because I've been tweaking some of the numbers on the market document that we have in our drive. But yeah, so the equipment guide's looking pretty solid. If I keep up my work, even though I keep going down rabbit holes, assuming I finish the weapon design systems, because armor design is already done. I just need to put it into the book now. I have to convert all my magical item stuff that I've been working on the side, not in this book, but I have a magic enchantment list document. Put it in here. I'd say we're pretty close. And if the team starts thinking up their own enchantments, listings, and the like, feel free to slap them on in there. You guys have access to the book for the Kami team, so that should be good. I mean, I do go down a lot of rabbit holes.
Quick question about the critical multipliers. Do they also apply to enemies? Like, can enemies have high critical multipliers?
If they're using weapons, or if you want to give that to them as like a martial adept feature. I've
Good to
given
know.
creatures, I've like even before this change, I've given creatures special features such as the Barbarian's Rage, extra dice on critical, or just said, hey, from the Cold trait, I believe it's Cold, or not Cold, Brutal. I think it's Brutal. Is the trait that lets them increase
Yeah.
their critical damage multiplier. So from that alone, I'm like, yeah, here you go. And that applies to creatures that have like base 48 damage. So, you know. One of the other things you'll notice on this change would be this little arrow symbol. I go into detail what that means in the very top of weapon crafting. So
You're not streaming anymore, we don't know
yeah,
what
no,
symbol you're
because
talking
it
about.
dropped. It dropped. That's why. When things went weird. Here you go. Go live. Yeah, it's for fun. It's also to make crafting weapons feel more unique, because previously it was just weapon properties and damage value. That's it. Same thing with armor, which isn't as fun for weapon design. Like you weren't able to get. You can make a dagger and a club do the exact same thing in the previous weapon system, and that's not very fun. It feels like Diablo 3's weapon system, where you're holding a club but you're swinging a spell, which I freaking hated from Diablo 3. Regardless, though, it's not intended to be a way to kill players. Um, but it also goes hand in hand with the armor change, because if I go back to armor design, you'll notice that there's a vigor rating and agility rating now. Vigor increases max HP. Agility increases initiative. As an example of what they can do. There's more to it than that, but a bit of things like that. And for those who are monks or unarmored, there are ways to get those values on your character too, so I wouldn't worry about that. But that is the overall design setup there. I don't know if I froze or not. I might have froze. I don't know why I keep freezing. You know, this looks pretty frozen. Yeah, no, my if someone could talk, that'd be nice, just to see if I'm still in the Discord. But I can't hear anything right now. I'm seeing very little change. Okay, that's fun. There goes Discord. There goes back. It's
Sorry,
back.
I like weather too much.
All right. Since apparently streaming the book from my laptop is not going to work because my Discord keeps saying "fuck you." Um, any questions that I might have missed? The last thing I noticed was Legacies, Lamau, and then it slowly popped in. We have the Power Monster design, but I didn't hear any talking or anything like that between then and now.
I think the last thing you mentioned was along the lines of Diablo-esque.
Gotcha. Yeah, so previous weapon design was very similar to Diablo 3, where the weapons didn't really matter. It was more of like aesthetic. With the new weapon design system, with critical multipliers, critical threat range, penetration value, unique properties that can be applied to different weapon types, that should make them feel more unique to the character. So if someone wants to use a trident, it'll feel like a trident, as opposed to someone who wants to use like a great club. Even if they have the same damage values, they'll be different weapons. So that was a major update. Is I want to make sure the weapons felt somewhat unique, and the major purpose for why I added back those properties from Pathfinder. I've also simplified some of the rule systems too for weapon design, so they're not as weird. Like I remember the very top of weapon crafting was this like 6 paragraph long text of just like flavor text and basic, not really needed text. Basically, it was not needed at all. It's now 1 paragraph, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, this is just the baseline magical, non-magical weapon, mundane item that can then be enchanted and stuff. It has properties, but they're not magical properties. And this is before you add quality as well. So it's just mundane weapon crafting. Yeah. One of the big updates that I was going to touch on, but then I keep breaking up on Discord, um, would be the reintroduction of exotic weapon proficiency. And this is for those that kind of hit that level of crafting level where it's a little too powerful to be given for those who don't invest. So, like, I know we have some weapons that are like 2d8 as an example for damage value, or some weapons that have like 6 different weapon properties that make it super crazy and super unique, and then firearms as an example. All these things will go into that category, and it's built into the design system where you know what hits that requirement. Yes, exotic is individual weapons rather than a group weapon, with exception of firearms. Certain classes, certain things will be like you gain proficiency in firearms, which means any firearm that's exotic is now considered martial. I believe that's how it functions in the way I read it. Yeah. And the reason why firearms are exotic is just because tech level wise. Otherwise, they'd normally be like martial and then turn into exotic. Yeah. Um, but that the different proficiency tiers, so simple, martial, exotic, those are indicated via the little arrow symbol I was mentioning earlier. So 1 arrow means it's now martial, 2 arrows means it's exotic. For example, if we look at club damage, you'll see it's 1d12 double line, indicating that that's the base value, 1d2. And then it goes 1d2, 1d3, 1d4, 1d6, arrow. Anything past the arrow is now martial or exotic. Anything before it, simple. 1d8, 1d10, martial, 1d12, 2d8 because it's 2 arrows, exotic. And it tells you what that means at the beginning of weapon crafting, so you know exactly what that means without having to just look at the values. But that has been like an update for every value, so you know if it's going to be a exotic weapon requirement or not. As an example, to make something a 19 to 20 weapon, you need to have it be martial. No simple weapons can be 19 to 20. All right. Yeah, but this should hopefully make weapon crafting feel better. I know armor crafting was one of the major gripes that we've had for crafting people, was that it felt pretty weak, but when I was looking at armor crafting, it also made me look at weapon crafting, and I was like, okay, there's some issues here too. 100%. We'll be posting it to you guys first, so you guys can look at it. Next CG update is going to be a very spicy one. Before we release it to anyone, I need to make sure that everything that this touches is updated, because there's a lot of feats, there's a lot of different things that go in hand with these systems. So like martial
Well,
training is a feat that would need to be looked at.
well, if you're bringing back exotic prof, we need to change a lot of the origin stuff too.
Yeah,
Like, like for example, I know some of them actually did have exotic in them before we changed it to martial.
yeah.
So we need to change those back.
Yeah, pretty much what I was saying exactly. That there's a lot of changes, and we need to go look at every small little thing, origins, feats. A lot of things will touch on the system that needs to be looked at. So once I send it to you guys, and once you guys approve it, I'll then go through all those systems, update them, release the guide. Once the community has given a look at it. So once they see things, make sure that as players they haven't missed anything that seems off, because we want both a player and a staff side of view. Then we should be good to fully release. Yeah. When the guide does drop, if someone was previously using like a trident, but it's been altered design wise with this new system, and they no longer want those properties, they should be good to have a replacement of a similar item of a GP equivalent value, or the like, or just be able to rebuild the weapon if they design it themselves. So if anyone who custom crafted a great sword that has the braced property as an example, I'll let them rebuild their weapon. If it's a already designed weapon, so if someone's just like, I want a dagger, but the dagger's properties no longer fit what they want, yeah, they can choose something that's similar. I think that's not going to be too much of an issue for weapons, but for armor design, it 100% will be. Because some armors will have a higher vigor rating or a high agility rating when they want it to have a higher vigor versus agility. So that one's going to be a bit spicier.
I don't think a lot of people have armor right now, so it won't be as big of an issue.
Well, that's good.
Like, I don't think we have a lot of custom armors out at this point in time
Yeah, I
that
mean,
it's that we're going to get a huge backlog of, hey,
same.
we we need this changed.
Yeah. If we don't have a lot of custom crafting. I know we have some crafting where people are just
Right.
like, I want to make a weapon of this quality, or I want to make this weapon of this material. But as you're saying, or as Sky is saying, we don't have people who are making like a uniquely designed weapon. I know we have some, but not a lot. Yeah, we didn't have a lot, so it's. I don't think it's going to be a huge issue, but it's something that we need to keep an eye on too for this update. Yeah, and the final addition for this, which I know um, Kismet's been working on a little bit of this too. Um, the market, which is the document that we have in our economy folder, that's going to include every single item in the book. So weapons, armor, miscellaneous gear, magical enchantments, etc., etc. They'll all be added to the market. So both players and DMs can just use that as a central resource to buy things. And it'll have a shopping sheet at the very first page, which will calculate what you're buying, how much it weighs, how many days you need to spend to buy it, how much you're spending, if how much you're haggling successfully for, if you're haggling. So that's something that we've been working on. I know uh, Month has been excited to help with that. That was you, Month, right? When I suggested it earlier, in economy meeting.
Ye-
Yeah, yeah. So it should be good. Good stuff. Yeah, I intend to make a video going over crafting with the release of this. I was gonna do it before, but I was like, I'm updating a lot of things. I'm just gonna wait until this thing is released. Yeah, I'm gonna do a video though. Yeah. So the market, which is the giant document of happiness, that'll make shopping downtime. That'll make crafting downtime. That'll make all these different downtimes so much easier. Because you'll literally just be like, I want this weapon to do this thing. Drop down list from 1d4 to d8. I want to have these properties. Toggle on, toggle on, toggle on. Bam, boom, done. So it's so much easier. More importantly, though, since this will be a master sheet, we'll be able to edit that sheet and it'll edit everyone else's individual shopping sheets if they want to have an individual shopping sheet. So, because I figured out how to do that. It's not that hard. So, mm-hmm. It is possible to award things that are not craftable, though that does go into some of the weird wibbly wobblies. Because pretty much everything is craftable. If you want to make it, you can make it. So if you want something that cannot be crafted, like a magic barrel of goats, or using an example from Norse mythology, uh, Thor's goat. If someone wanted to craft that, that would essentially be a custom enchantment, something that they would have to spend time researching. So, while it's not something in the guide where it's like a chosen thing that they can choose from, I would say that if they spent time researching it, figured out how the enchantment works, it could be something that's possible. Unless it's a divine reagent, the tier 8 reagents. Those ones are deities only, or people who have reached that point in their skill set. But if you want to do custom stuff that aren't on the list of options, yeah, feel free. Also, that enchantment right there going in the box would just be a minor illusion enchantment. So, like a cantrip or a first level spell enchantment, probably be a poor reagent. Oh, the real goats. Just don't die or something.
I think at this point it's not magic, it's just a goat in a box. That's it.
All right. Well, I mean, if you enchant it with the box with a sustenance, so don't need to eat, don't need to drink, don't need to sleep, at the higher tiers of sustenance, that is, you could just put a goat in there and then have a goat in the box. So, yeah. Technically, that idea could be done multiple different ways with our base system already. But yeah, no. If you want something entirely custom that's not from the list of options, you were able to do so. And if you want it to be entirely unreplicatable, then that's something that we'd want to discuss. Just because players should have the ability to try to research things to figure out how it was done. And if your answer is because, then we need to discuss why, because that's not a really good reason. Yeah, so you definitely want to talk with people to determine things. I mean, those are just a bunch of mimics or weird transmuters' magical powers. So, yeah, that goes more into flesh crafting, I'd say, which is something that is listed in the book but not currently made. Yeah, flesh crafting. Essentially making chimeras. That goes hand in hand with pets and stuff, which we're not touching on that right now. We're focusing on the basic weapons. I don't want to work on flesh crafting. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Please don't.
I'm not going to. If Laddersmith wants to give me an idea for it, feel free to shoot it, but it's not my focus. Yes, that's flesh crafting if you want to make Nina. You're gonna make a lot of people sad and want to shoot you for making Nina. But yes. Anyways, um making solid progress on the equipment guide. I just have to finish weapon crafting, implement the things I have for armor crafting and enchantments, and then we should be good to release crafting, I'd feel. At least to review it by the team and then review it by a staff or public. So I'm close. Very, very close. And again, if you have access to the book or if you have any ideas for enchantments, the list is always growing, so shoot them my way so I can add them to the book. I do not hear your voice now. Truly. Refillable potions, those would essentially just be an enchantment. Yeah. Because you'd basically take the basic concept of like a wand where it has charges that respawn, and you just apply it to a consumable potion instead of a wand. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Potion crafting does get a little spicy too. I know that there's already um, custom crafting rules for a lot of those, but it does get pretty spicy. All right, that's my major update though. In terms of stuff for Sunday's meeting, let me go read your thing you just posted. Suggested spell changes. I have no idea what that is. Oh, my suggested spell changes. Okay. Okay, it's like, who's suggesting spell changes? Spell research. Okay, that makes much more sense. I was like, what? What's going on here? We should review that now because it's been a pain point and we should get it released as soon as we can. So the thing that was just linked, that brings it to the very top of the message. So go on head on over there and see what you see if you like them. If you do, then we can post it to players to review, and then we can release it.
This is a lot to read through, but my first immediate question is this going to research like custom spells, or is this if like a wizard wants to figure out how to get, I don't know, enlarge reduce in their spell book when they don't have it?
That, the latter. Yeah, custom
Okay.
spell research is not listed as an option. It will eventually be one when we have the rule systems in place, but we don't have them in place.
I mean, I could see some simple changes with that in terms of like what you could have, like those weird custom spells.
Mhm.
But the only thing I see right now is like you can change your element on your fireball to be a frost ball. I don't know.
Well, I think that for this change here, Legacy, we release it as soon as it's approved by all parties. We don't need to wait for next TP. The main reason for that is it was supposed to be released so much way back when. So we don't want to have that issue. Yeah, the Eclipse, I mean, it wasn't meant as a patch. It was just a happy coincidence that it was working as a patch. Because the Eclipse was going to happen regardless. And the fact that it would improve upon spellcasting was nice and a good way to apply it as a patch. Yeah. So it will be a very nice buff, and I think the buff doubling up right here would help out because we've had so long where people haven't been able to research at a proper time. So, will it be a pretty good stack? Yeah. But it also means that, hey, all that time period before where you weren't able to really do this is now supercharged for this one period. So you have a chance to catch up to what you would have otherwise had. Yeah. So I'm not too worried about the double stacking. Let me go look at the system again. If it's a level 3 spell, that'd be 150 gold, and it would be a total of 5, 10, 15, 15 days. Yeah, it's 50 GP per level spell, and then 5 days per level spell, because 50 hours is 5 days. This is using the new system where we're using 10-hour days instead of 8-hour days. That's going to be reverted to 8 hours until we fully update. So you can ignore that portion, technically. Yeah, it uses 10-hour days. Yeah, so for massive damage, we are indeed meaning the if you hit what Lattice just posted. That's it. That's the rule we use. Yes.
I believe the main thing that's been like causing the sting about instant death and more so an overreaction from
Mm-hmm.
what I saw is that it was kind of like not sure. There's a moment where like some people were not sure like what are we referring to in terms of massive damage
Mm-hmm.
because massive damage is like also a variant rule in the base DMG
Yeah.
when really we were referring to how instant death works.
Yeah. I didn't realize massive
uh,
damage was a term that they used as an optional rule. So
I didn't realize either until someone was like confused about it.
yeah.
I
So
was like, what is this?
instant death. Instant death is the rule that we're talking about. Which is essentially the same thing as like, hey, you fall from 600 feet from a giant fuck off bridge into the void. Yeah, we're gonna instant death you. There's no need to go through the falling damage rules to see if you live or not.
I mean, the local falling damage rules will kill you anyway
They should, yeah.
from just exhaustion.
Yeah, they should kill you from 600 feet, but as an example of something, if we didn't have those in place, we would be using instant death for that.
Well, you have to remember that we're putting the DM logs out, so if a DM says they're going to have massive damage rules on, they're going to have massive damage rules on.
Yeah. But
There,
yes.
like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts to that.
Yeah. So generally, I think the consensus was marking instant death as default off. Previously, it's been default on, and then just mark it in your DM log if you normally have it on. For me, mine's going to be listed as on. Yeah, no, if they want to, that's another option. All three options are in the spell research. Um, there's the researching it from scratch, there's the researching it from a scroll or similar source, and then there's researching it from another spell book, which just goes to various levels of more efficient. Let me go back to the balance team listing for it. So these values should hopefully affect things pretty nicely. With the values for scroll research being about half that of cost wise, I believe. Actually, this one, just read through this real quick. Okay, yeah, so scrolls are about fifth the cost and a tenth of the time. So they're really quick. But you also have to add the cost of a scroll, so if you don't own the scroll initially. So it can be pretty expensive to do scroll research. But if your DM drops a scroll, it's really cheap, really efficient. Now, if you're doing it from a spellbook, it's 5 gold per level, really freaking cheap, and 1 hour per level to spell. Really freaking fast. So, spellbooks, if you have, like, you kill an enemy necromancer and you grab their spellbook, oh boy, you're in wizard heaven. It should be noted that the spellbook research cannot be modified. It's always going to be 1 hour per. Yep, what they posted. Ladder Smith gave a quick, easy drop down little menu for it. Mm-hmm. Math, indeed. All right. So that all looks good. Then I think we should be able to post it to look at community to see what they think. And if that's all Gouda, then we can drop it as soon as it gets approved. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Just for the sake of time, because we're getting a little close. What about the other features listed down below? So one of the other updates is an update to Wizard as a class, and every other class that uses spellbooks. Previously, I believe it was you gain a number of first level spells equal to 6 at the beginning. This now changes it to 10. So you get 10 first level spells. So plus 4, level 1. While learning spells of higher level, or first level, or higher, whenever you learn a spell, you would learn a spell of the highest level you're capable of, the standard 2, and then you get additional spell for each level below that. So if you're level 5, you get 2 third level, 1 second, 1 first. And that's the change right there. And then you'd be able to combine those level spells to get another third level if you want to, or have 3 first levels. So for the spell research, like I say, it's actually multiple different things, so we're still working on that one. Yeah. Any other opinions on the additional spellbook changes and spellbook research from Level Up? It's not really related to that one, but technically, yes, there's a linguist buff later on, yes. All right. I guess for this one, we'll just let the community see, because there's no real strong opinions besides uh, Jaffa's, and that's not really a strong opinion. It's more of like, eh. So we'll see what the community thinks to see if there's any major opinions there as well. As for civilians being able to take loans when converting to adventurer, if they want to take a loan, sure. There's still more on it, Legacy, for the spell research stuff. With the last two big ones being the new feat Tomekeeper and the updated feat Linguist. I'll just copy that one here. These are the base pages for the new feats. They should still be listed under the region page because they're tied to the region.
One thing that I see immediately that I want to ask is, how hard is it to get spell scrolls that are very high level? For example, like 5th level scroll at this tier.
For those ones, I don't think you can purchase it, so it's not viable via shopping at our current level because our world tier isn't high enough for that. It's possible you could find it in the game, but generally you don't be able to find it in the game at this point in time.
And I haven't looked at scroll crafting at all. Do you have to know the spell to craft the scroll?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a big thing that's going to be made clear in the equipment guide update. That is, if you're replicating a spell, it needs to be known. You need to provide the spell during its crafting, essentially.
The reason I ask is because I see the ability to like cast scrolls that are of higher level of your own with a spell check.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, how crazy would this be?
Yeah. We had a lot of people who were like, I'm going to make a wand that can cast all these 3rd level spells when I'm level 1. And I'm like, that's not how it works. Shit, it's not in the book. I actually think it is for wands, but it's not for scrolls. Or maybe it's one of the two. It's in the book currently for one of the two systems, but not for both. So it's, yeah, it's updated. It's fixed. If you want to have a quick link for them, for each region, that's fine, but they should still be in the origin, the region page. So like you could have choose your origin, quick link for general origins, quick link for Dolder, Bruja, Arlogus, Eldiria. That's fine. But they should still be in the region page. Let's see, where's my post for that? That is fair. For Tome Keeper, I would say edit. Bam. Any normal ritual spell at half the normal time. Easy clap. Yeah, if we can add to those pages the origin tag, that should definitely help. Let's see here. For linguist.
It's just a simplification of wording because one of the lines is like, you get advantage against all these things. It could just be like negative effects from reading a book. Or
You
something
don't
like
get
that.
tired from reading a book. You
Exactly.
don't get that eye strain, you know?
You ignore all exhaustion from staying up too late just by reading. No.
Okay,
You can
that
keep
might.
reading those novels
Yeah.
all night now.
We're gonna want to keep the curse, the very long text list, because we will be asked by players, "Can I get over exhaustion if I just read a book this entire 12 hours?" And the answer would be no. So we need to keep it as is, unfortunately. I was about to be like, yeah,
Yep.
sure, it's an easy clap, but people are going to ask, and we're going to be like, no, and then we'll have to add something to add it, and I'm already seeing people requiring us to hot fix it. So if we keep it wordy, clear what it affects, then it's fine. It's wordy, but
Here's just like a general question for most DMs, mostly regarding how I view one of the Tome Keeper features.
mhm.
Has there ever been a moment that the time between like 1 minute and 5 minutes mattered in session?
I'm sure Sky can attest to this, but yes, in my games at least.
Don't see it too often.
Yeah, maybe it's just a DM specific thing, but in my games, time really matters. Hmm. It's true. Most of my games, though, time is always on the Daggerfall style of questline rather than Skyrim. I thought it was pretty good myself too. The additional spells learned every level that is retroactive, and the addition of um, spell prep choices, that's pretty good. I mean, it's definitely a wizard slash spellbook user feat. So, like, if you're not a spellbook user, you might not like it as much. But yeah, it's
I mean, the hardest thing to say is that this is more like this is not a in combat feat, I should say.
that's true.
It's more like out of there, and then
Yes. So technically, the linguist feat would give you 6, I believe.
Yeah, which is how Malf has like 14.
Yeah, because it doesn't technically give you
It is
linguistics
ridiculous.
expertise at base. You have to already be proficient. So normally it would just give you 3, but if you get expertise from it too, then it would be 6 total.
I suppose I will ask for the ritually casting normal spells. That just taking into account the plus 10 minutes from ritual casting, or the whole duration.
Let's see. Let me go read that line again. Ritual cast any normal ritual spell at half the normal time. That would just be whatever the normal time is halved. So if it takes you 11 minutes and 6 seconds, then it would be 5 minutes and 5 minutes. Or it'd be 6 minutes. 5.5 minutes. I can't math right now. 11 divided by 2 is 5.5. So it'd be 5.5, which would be uh, 55 rounds.
So an hour and 10 minutes can be shortened to 35 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And obviously, 11 minutes and 6 seconds would just be rounded down because we don't always round down unless otherwise noted. So, yeah. True. The extra spell preps do make it solid. I wouldn't say combat feat, but it does definitely help because the versatility of having additional spell prepared is huge. Yeah. All right. Um, outside of that, though, doesn't seem like there's any major concerns besides the thing that you pointed out, Sky. We should get to Zyron's pit fighting listing, just because time is of the essence and whatnot. Um, Gold limits to pit fighting and or scaling DC to allow abilities to be used without having gold gains run away limitlessly. 5k is too high. 250 times tier could be a lot better. List of abilities for downtime and or pit fighting. Copy message link. Paste for ease of access. Alright, so that's fine. That works. Let's see. Comfort exists. Technically, the only way it exists is via the renting of structures or via building your own structure. But the rules are there, so they exist. Just for every 10 points of comfort score, you get additional downtime day for the upkeep. As for Shadow's Post, does anyone else hold similar views to Shadow in terms of we should go away from limiting it based on time factor and more towards making sure the bonuses list the bonus type? Wouldn't it be updated with intimidation? Oh, listing what the what can antagonize what shakens. Yeah, I do need to do that. Yeah. The cost of renting places is going to places to stay, yes, but the mechanical effects are things that you need to pay additional for because you might be renting a place that doesn't have the bedchamber component, which is what boosts your comfort score to something that actually gives you benefit. Essentially, consider the place that you might be renting per the rent lifestyle option as a comfort of 0. You need to spend components to boost it higher. So, yeah, you would have comfort, it's just 0. It's like renting a house that doesn't have any furniture. You need to buy the furniture first. No, it just comes with a really large mansion that is empty, essentially. And more specifically for aristocratic, it's more of you're paying for fancy meals out, you're paying for carriages wherever you travel, you're doing all these fancy stuff. It's representative of how you live, not where you live. I mean, it's both, but yeah. What is with that weird beep bop? Pretty much. So I think in that case, if you're wanting to go away from the time limitations, if this is the list of all things that they are affecting,
I think this is just the current list.
okay, let me just.
I do not think they're done.
Gotcha. I'm just gonna add a new column real quick and add things out. Let's see here. Would be a morale. Would be a fate.
I gotta say, tracking all that is going to be a bitch. No, that's going to be horrible to try and process downtime tracking these and the different types.
It's true.
To be fair, a lot of this comes down to the fact that like it's a strain on economy if you can if we can
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
It's the
The,
insight.
the more the more stuff that we can remove that
Essentially, it's the
fuck
more stuff.
stuff, it makes it easier.
Yeah, the more stuff they can use, the more stuff we have to balance around. Meaning that we either have to somehow increase the DCs or add some sort of penalty. Like someone gave an idea with pit fighting giving infamy if you win too much, or something. Or we have to limit the gains. But if you limit the gains, then kind of it loses the point of gambling.
Let's see here. Where's the thing I'm looking for? Here it is. All right. Deflections are what time bonus? It's only for reactions. Passive stuff. Most of these should be insight or morales. Okay, that's what I thought. Do you have the wording listed for these abilities too, or do I have to look those up?
I don't think it was considered when adding because they were looking at the pages themselves, so
Gotcha.
I don't think the Woden is on it.
I'll bring up the Cleric class real quick to look at this one. Alright. Evangelist's ability known as Divine Truth. Why is that listed on here? That just says you can use Wisdom instead of another modifier. It's not actually like adding a new bonus, it's just modifying the base skill.
I think this is to prevent the too many rules being made.
Mm.
No, the intent is because you can essentially just change every roll to wisdom based and just focus on wisdom and just get an enhanced ability of wisdom. Just focus on anything that only gives wisdom. Essentially makes it single attribute dependent instead of multiple attribute dependent.
Gotcha. Mm. I'm going to do mark it as not applicable because it's not actually a type bonus, but something we can definitely look at. That one's not. Don't have enough info to determine what type of bonus they are.
I don't know how you're going to channel divinity and gambling, but you know, you do you if you want to waste your channel divinity.
I mean,
Well,
you get a lot of them per short rest.
well, for gambling, you would just be denied, unless you want to cheat. Channel Divinity is not a non-flashy ability. You're making motions, you're making noise, you're praying. Magical effects will occur. So even if we were going to look at purely what's the type bonus, do they stack? With Channel Divinity options, all of them would be like, do you want to cheat?
I mean, if we're going off that train of thought, enhanced ability shouldn't work either because it's also a spell.
Yeah, I mean the big thing with enhanceability is that you can do it before things trigger. So like you enhance yourself and then go into the gambling hall. Though if it's a really fancy gambling hall, they will have anti-magic fields placed around it, so it would just turn off. But those are ones where those would be the occasions where in the downtime activity it says for fancier places you need an invitation, and those would be like RP events that we'd have rather than just the downtime activity. So it's the same as Divine Truth. Mark that one as not applicable. Let me go over these again now that I looked at the actual wording for my book. Alright, move that one a bit lower. This one a bit lower. Okay, let me go read through chat real quick. Well, I mean, there is some luck, or there is some skill in gambling. Like, it's not just purely luck. Okay, that's listed. Um, all right, let's look at these different type bonuses in sight. In this case, Destiny would stack with everything. The ability to add bonuses from new dice would not stack with that one, so you cannot combine both of them. Lucky would not stack with side dice. Side dice would not stack with superiority. Superiority would not stack with other stuff I'm blind to. Twist of Fate.
I mean,
Yeah.
if we make a whole list of the abilities and their types, we can just make a list of each bonus type, and if the ability is in that list, we just can ignore just everything else in that list.
Yeah.
Well, the original goal was to make a list of what is accepted, not what is not accepted.
It's true.
So, like, everything that is accepted goes on the list. Everything not on the list, hey, you can't use it. Boom, 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 done.
Yeah. So this all really goes down to, are people wanting to continue with the idea that if it does not last an hour or longer, it should be denied for downtime? Or are people wanting to look at more of the type bonuses side of things and go from there.
As I said in chat, I think the main offender is additive bonuses. So things like psi dice.
Hmm.
Because a lot of the things just let you either reroll or just give you like a higher proficiency level. I think most of those are fine? Question mark. At least those are workable around. But if a person can roll a 2 on a d20, but it's still 42 because of the additive bonuses, then kind of what the fuck?
Yeah.
And having bonus types listed is good because they are also applicable like out of game. Out of DTD in actual game. For example, wait, you've changed lucky to insight. That also means you cannot stack a destiny and inspiration, for example.
You would be able to. They're different
It would
types.
be able.
Because destinies are a d6 or a d8, depending on if you have Fate Taker. Inspiration is just a reroll. They're not the same effect.
Aren't they both fate?
They're both Fate bonuses. But, like, for example, if I were wanting to grab Lucky, the feat, and combine it with Portent Dice, both essentially are replacing the d20 with something else, whether that is a reroll or just giving it, this is the d20 now. Both are insight bonuses, meaning that they would not stack.
Right, so we also separate the additive and the replacive bonuses.
Yes. Because
So rerolling or adding a die is...
Yeah,
so rerolling is replacing... Yeah, right.
essentially, if the effect is the same and the type bonus is the same, they do not stack. If the effect is the same but the type bonus is different, they would stack.
We should write that out somewhere.
Well, it's already written out. The only thing that's missing right now is listed as Fate. Just copy these. Copy. Pasta. I need to edit this. This is horribly formatted for Discord. Anyways, these are the type bonuses that currently exist in the equipment guide. I need to add some new ones. Specifically, Fate needs to be added. But let's see here. That should be good. And enter. Should be a bit more legible now. So the only thing that really stacks with itself would be morale. But morale is something that could be removed with, say, hey, look, you're shaken. Someone scares you. Or you've been doomed. So we suffer from the condition for that. What we could do is just say morale cannot be used in downtime.
We put scary bouncers at the front of each gambling hall, so you get shaken and lose all of your morale bonuses.
Because I think the only thing that really morale would apply to at this point in time would be... well, actually, no, motivators are supposed to be applicable.
Yeah, motivators and bods, that's it.
Well, looking at this list, the majority of bonus types are actually insight. So it's not too much of an issue.
Also assume things like team leader, what was it called? The teamwork feats.
Most of those are going to be
Like
morale
work,
bonuses.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, let's see here. If we can get the description of each ability listed out, that way I can actually go over them. Because this is just me with my going over the abilities based on the name and my memory of the effect. So I would consider it the final list of what they are. Yeah, definitely a good starting point. But Circumstances are actually not a bonus type currently. Which, oh yeah, it's one of the new ones. That's right. That's right.
Traitor work sounds like a competence bonus, but maybe that's just me.
I mean, it's competence circumstance. It varies really. It's just the name of the bonus type is in the new updates. It's just not released yet. So, but out of the 4 that we have currently released, um, deflection, enhancement, insight, and morale. Majority of these are insight, which means they would not stack with each other. I do think that any benefit used in downtime 100% needs to be marked as an exhaustive resource, though. Additionally, I know some of the suggestions that we were having for this particular topic were tied to. That is the homework, yes. We're tied to if we are wanting things to be like time based, to just mark the number of uses be more. So what we could do is, if someone is wanting to utilize, say, a potent dice to affect their results on carousing, as an example, what we could do is just say you have to use all potent dice for that day. For that single downtime activity.
And so the same thing for like psi dice and
Yeah.
superiority die and whatever. Yeah, that would help at least. Because then if you do like, let's say, pit fighting, you can only upgrade one of those rolls.
Yeah.
Well, you do. We would have to add exceptions like Destiny, for example, or
Yeah.
like concentrated work.
Yeah, so for Destiny, that one's a fate bonus. That one's a bonus type that's not currently listed in the equipment guide. It will be in the new one.
I mean that you don't use all of the Destiny when you use it on downtime.
Yeah,
Or
for
do you?
Destiny
Yeah.
should just be a one and done. You don't need to use all 3 of it for downtime, unless people want it to be that way. But Destiny was never intended to be a big drop, because it does more than just give you the d6. It gives us villain points, and if we said you have to use all 3 points or all 4 points that you have, that's suddenly us being given 1.5 or 2 villain points per activity that someone uses Destiny on, which is not intended. So for
Essentially,
that,
anything beside Destiny and concentrated work would consume all of the uses. So like lucky, potent,
yeah,
psi dice, superiority dice, all of
yeah.
that.
What we could say
Shadow
is
divinities would, yeah.
any ability that's not fate or insight based would use all uses. If it's fate or sorry, fate or circumstance. If it's not one of those 2 bonus types, you have to use all uses of the ability to gain the effect,
Unless it's passive.
unless it's passive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's because inspiration, again, is not something that is intended to be use all 3 uses or whatnot. So a lot of this goes into the intention of the ability too. All right. But that should definitely help push this closer to release. Let's see. I think with those two changes, we're definitely looking a bit better. I can see that being a discussion, yeah. Definitely went way over my time budget for today, so is there anything else we need to discuss?
I mean, there are still things in the stuff for Sunday.
There's still things for
Yeah.
that, yeah, it's just I'm like 30 minutes past when I should have been out
Oh.
skis.
I guess just look at the limiting stuff ticks, so that you can't just loop 5 times, like in 5 seconds. Maybe limiting it to several loops per, like a downtime
They
period.
have to include the downtime Destiny in the downtime submission, yes. If they don't include it there, then they don't get Destiny. It is a very clear you're using this ability. Because it's not just, oh, I use this resource, I run out of it. It's, we need it to be listed so we know that we're getting villain points added. Yeah, always roll. I mean, if they fail and there's no like higher effect, if they like roll higher better, then you don't need to really roll it. But if there's a better effect if they roll higher, then you should roll it. All right. In terms of the other thing, though, let's see here. Let's look at the progress ticks. I would consider my NERP crafting enchantment systems, that's definitely in progress. So I wouldn't consider it haven't started. It's in progress. NERP Unchained class reworks. That's obviously in progress. We have several Unchained already. Faction reworks are in progress. ND just posted about that one already, so we're good there. Yeah, looks of it, those are the main ones that are updated. All right, and you were mentioning staff ticks. Do you want to go over that? I'm not sure what your post is referring to, Legacy. Also, a
It's
keywords
about the
are sensitive.
ticks. It is about the ticks. So the idea was to limit the gain of ticks per category, so that you can only gain 2 loops of XP, 1 loop of gold, and 1 loop of influence, to limit the economical scale, I guess. It doesn't affect accumulation. It's just that you can only spend them, like you can spend them this much per month.
The big thing there is that while I can see the benefit, I can also see the detriment, because that would encourage people to stop working once they hit their cap for the month.
Yeah, but there is also a detriment to the economy if we can just let people to get infinite money.
I think the better solution would be to just reduce the amount they gain. Like, XP is fine.
No, XP is not a problem. The gold
wealth,
and influence is the problem.
That one we can just reduce how much they gain. Because I believe right now they have to run 5 gains 5 games to get a tick of that?
No, 3.
3 games.
3 games to gain both gold and influence.
Yeah.
Which is like 500 goals for most people.
Yeah, so I think we just reduce that value. Yeah, the redeem cap though is going to cause people to if they're only doing this for the reward, which I think it shouldn't be the case, but I'm sure there will be people who do this only for the reward.
I mean, that would still
Having a
be 3
cap
games
is an
per
issue.
month. I mean, it would be still 3 games per month, which is how many games can you run in a month? Like 4 or 5, depending on the month.
Mm,
It's still pretty close to the cap.
yeah, we can definitely discuss this further. I'd table it for now. I have concerns, so I think it can work. It it would need a longer conversation than what we have. What's the next thing on the docket?
Fritz asked to just check some progress. There's just a list and just check if we're working on something or if it's done.
Yeah.
If we need some help.
I went over that while I was a couple seconds ago. Essentially, a lot of my stuff's in progress. And there's some of my stuff that's done.
Tell us if you need help. Obviously.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have access to the equipment guide. You should be able to provide help as needed.
Yeah.
As for Roki's thing, you guys can open it up. I know that we originally locked it because of some concerns, but those concerns are no longer valid, so it can be opened up again. So, yeah, it's going to be opened. And yes, you'd be going through the hall until you leave, essentially, because you'd go through the hall as you enter, you go to your individual rooms, you discuss there. And if you leave, you basically just get slapped out of there. Oh, okay. I'll unlock it after the meeting then, or someone else can. In that case, anything anyone else would like to bring up, things to discuss?
I think that's it.
All right, see what Jaffa has to say real quick. Style feats. Those are getting a major overhaul in the equipment diet update. They are not being deleted. But they are getting a major overhaul. We do not have time. There'd also be new additions to style feats. Specifically, each weapon category is being given their own style feat as well. But that's major update for equipment guide drop. It's not happening right now. Anyways. Is this like a yes, and I'll wait for the meeting to be ended? Gotcha. All right. Since that is the last little bitty then, appreciate everyone's help, all the good work, all that good stuff. Gonna drop the recording here. And blah, blah, blah.